Today's Thursday, and we have an Ohio race, a House race, that is still too close to call. And now it's even closer. Election officials discovering hundreds of uncounted votes yesterday. Republican Troy Balderson's lead narrowing over his Democratic opponent after officials tallied those ballots. Excluding that Ohio race, Democrats have lost 8 of the 10 special elections held since President Trump took office. But DNC Chair Tom Perez says the tight race in Ohio only makes him more confident in Democrats' chances in the midterms. Watch.
This gives me optimism, not only about this seat, but about other House seats, the U.S. Senate, and governor's races.
All right, Governor Huckabee, nothing should be this tight for Democrats. If history is our guide, they should win overwhelmingly in the midterms, but as of now, no one knows what's going to happen.
Well, I think it's interesting Tom Perez is out there singing Happy Days or Here Again. I mean, he's like the guy that jumped off a 100-story building, and at the 83rd floor, they heard him say, "So far, so good." I mean, that's what we're seeing out of this guy. Wow. He's looking as if they won the race. They're losing races. Yeah. They're not winning, and they should be winning, because that's the way it normally and historically goes. But what is their message? Vote for Democrats. We'll take your crumbs away. Your pay will go down. You won't have a bonus. You might not have a job. And we're going to open the borders and just let everybody in. And, hey, it may just be that they move all over the country, and
double
we have
your
no
taxes
idea
and force you to pay
redistribute the wealth in the country.
Oh, and let's go back to bowing down before foreign governments while we're at it. Let's go ahead and capitulate to every foreign entity out there instead of making them respect America again. They may not like us across the world. We don't care. We want them to respect us and fear us, and that's happened under this administration.
Alyssa Milano said that obviously the Russians were involved in the Ohio special election.
She's very upset.
Wait, why did she think that?
She said the Green Party votes are clearly...
She knows that Putin's the boss.
Yeah.
Yes, she said that the Green Party votes are a clear indication that the Russians have meddled in Ohio's 12th congressional district, and because the stakes are so high, she knows that it was the Russians.
Bless her.
Totally ridiculous.
Did the Russians hide those ballots?
Did the Russians
Franklin County?
send in that 588 full ballot box that they just happened to find? I always find it really interesting that when they find these boxes of ballots in trunks of cars in the back of the county building, that they always happen to get the Democrat closer to the Republican rather than getting the Republican closer to the Democrat, depending on who's behind. That always seems to be the case. It's quite amazing.
And in Florida, Bill Nelson the other day decided that Russia had actually infiltrated the electronic voting systems in several Florida counties, though when asked where did that information come from, how did he know, I mean, it became very clear.
That's a very serious claim.
It is a very serious claim that they hacked into the voting systems electronically.
Because you could suppress the vote by making that claim moving forward.
But, I mean, he apparently pulled it right out of a part of his body that normally is not viewed by the public. I mean, that's just what happened.
Armpit.
That's what I was thinking. What were you thinking?
No, that's why I'm shouting it out.
Yeah.
We think alike. You know, just back to the point that you were making, Katie, about the last-minute find of votes. I don't think it's out of the ordinary to do that, but I do think in this instance, you know, Franklin County was one of the first places that they counted, and that's why the Democrat in that race was ahead for a bit. So I just, you know, I mean, we have no way of knowing exactly what happened. I just put that out there so we have all of the facts to play with.
Right, exactly. Interesting that they were so adamant about counting Franklin County first, as you were saying, but then all of a sudden, a few days later, when they're desperately trying to match up the vote count and trigger a recount, is what they're really trying to do, they find this box of ballots.
I think it's amazing that we didn't learn from the 2016 election that we actually can't predict what's going on ahead of time, that voters are going to go out there and surprise you, and they aren't necessarily going to tell people on the phone or ahead of time or even in the exit polls how they actually voted when they went inside. And both sides are more engaged than they've ever been before, it feels like, in recent memory, which is a great thing for democracy. It's interesting, you know, I heard Anthony Scaramucci on earlier saying as he goes out around the country that it feels like he would like the president to tweet less, that there are people that are
A lot of people feel that way.
That are in his corner but are still uncomfortable with the tweeting, you know, whether that helps a candidate or not when he's out there, you know, stumping for them. I have found people who are uncomfortable with the tweeting paying less attention to it. You know, more focused on the outcome.
And there are some who are engaged and they defend the president at every single term, but there are a lot of voters. I was in Indiana last weekend, and you know, a lot of my friends are like, I voted for him, I really like him, but sometimes this is too exhausting.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Well,
that's definitely true.
Just the problem with
Part
turnout
of
for
the
the
problem
midterms.
is, Katie, you know, and we've been in those media circles where somebody they'll see the president tweet, and rather than asking about the news of the day of, say, a White House press secretary, they drill down on that immediate tweet that might not even have anything to do with, you know, policy or anything like that. It's just something that the president is expressing, and it has the word witch hunt in it, and they want to navel gaze on what will get them clickbait on themselves.
And whether it's
I'm not
newsworthy.
painting the whole room like that. I'm just saying a few y'all.
You're not saying they're the enemy of the people.
A journalist's job is also to look at a situation or a press release or a tweet and find the newsworthy value in that. And if the president is tweeting something that he said 50 times before, it's not really newsworthy. And you're right about people just kind of tuning out and saying, I'm exhausted with the cycle. It never ends. I think these 2 weeks have been the slowest since the president decided to run for office way back in 2015. You know, people really look at it and say, enough. I want the results. I know that my paycheck is bigger.
Did he get the results, though? He said he was 5 for 5.
It was really
on Tuesday night,
right? It was 4 for 5 out of so you had the math a little bit wrong.
No, yeah. It's all very exciting. And now